and her name is Minerva. She's the flower of the flower.
Do. Hey, everybody, it's me. It's Aaron Live. It's a last second live stream. I'm completely unprepared as usual, but not so unprepared that I couldn't run a little Looney Tunes clip. That was the joke we ran on Aaron Live Sunday night about that's the new Wraith promo video. So, ha. Hey, it's just me. It's April 14th, which would normally be almost tax day, but actually we have till the 18th this year. I have turned my taxes over to my accountant. It's out of my hair, if I had any. So, hopefully she's not going to come back with this really big number that, is shocking to me, but I don't think so, because we did a little, plug in a few numbers here and there to kind of get an idea, and I think I'm in good shape. So I'm feeling pretty good. Oh, my goodness. Only 4 people watching. That's just horrible. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Past Master Dan, look at that. Good morning, Mr. Lopresti. That's like almost respectful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Jeff Potts is here. He wants to know how Shelly's holding up. Well, she's teaching right now, so she must be doing okay. Let's see. Sequential treasures. Let's hope Aaron hasn't sold the shirt off his back in this one. No one wants to see that. Man, ain't that the truth? Let's see. I wonder if the Muppet can draw like Aaron. Well, he's back there. He's back there. There he is, with his mouth agape back there watching. Let me see all the there he is. Just kind of looking over my shoulder, always watching. Now let's see here. Jeff Potts is here. I think I already pointed that out. Marcus Killigrew's here. Well, look at that. It is Marcus Killigrew's dad's birthday. Well, happy birthday to Mr. Killigrew. Julie Pascal has joined us. Thank you, Julie, for stopping in. Appreciate it. Rodney's here. Hey, Rodney. Thanks for joining. See, look at Julie loves the Muppet. So there you go. I wasn't paying attention, man. I don't want to. Let's see. My dad had surgery and has been in the hospital, so I've been busy. I'm lucky to catch your stream, Aaron. Glad Shelly's doing better. I hope your father is doing well. Leg Kick. I have a 90-year-old mother who's doing quite well, but we're always worried, Actually, I have her in there stuffing envelopes right now. She's taking all the stickers and the trading cards that are all stretch goals that everybody gets and putting them in bags and boards right now. She's been working on that for several days, and she's doing quite well, I must admit. It's some people have said they're going to report me to senior citizens services that I'm abusing my 90-year-old mother, but she's actually enjoying it. It's giving her like kind of something to focus on rather than just playing games on the computer screen or watching TV. So, and she's doing quite a good job too. I'm really impressed. So I'm going to give her more work. You gotta exploit the cheap labor while you can. Angela Curry is here. Joe Bernardo from Vegas. Good to catch up on unscheduled stream. Good afternoon entertainment. Well, I hope I provide some good afternoon entertainment. Today on the Muppet Show, special guest channel president music guest Elton John. I used to love the Muppet Show. That was my favorite. Honestly, doing something repetitive like that sounds relaxing, at least for a while. Well, she spent a lot of time doing tedious work. She worked at a medical parts plant for until she was 82. I mean, she finally just quit working when she was 82. But it was very tedious work. They had these cables that they had to strip the casing off of them, and then they had to solder some stuff on the ends of them or whatever. And so that she would do that and put it in a pile and just kept doing that all day long. So she's actually kind of gets into the rhythm of that tedious kind of stuff, which stuffing envelopes is very tedious, but she seems to be doing fine with it. So are you? Yeah. John Smith. Hey, John. thanks for joining us. John's down in the sort of the San Diego, well, north of San Diego, but sort of in that area. So I'm sure he's having wonderful weather. We actually have sunshine, but it's freezing outside. We had snow like 2 days ago. It's ridiculous. 44 Numbskull says, Aaron. Hey, right back at you. Indeed. Okay, so why are we doing this live stream? Well, do I seem dark to you? Why am I dark? I can't, as my mom used to say, can't win for losing. Brighten up those lights a little bit. That's the red lights. It gives me warmth. It makes me not look like a pale, sickly old man. It makes me look, like I'm healthy. Let's see. There. Hey, okay. Now I got some color. It's a little brighter. Okay, now we're doing good. Okay. See, nicknamed the Muppet Malin. It fits because of the beanie. You mean these beanies? Now, here's the deal with the beanies. I'm supposed to get a huge box of these. Where is it? Right there. Today. Okay. So those of you who've ordered beanies and shot glasses, like the combo, those are going to start going out soon. And because we want to sort of try and get a little bit ahead of the mailing before the books come in, and then it becomes this huge ordeal. So anyway, today is it for the shirts. I'm going to close them out right as soon as I'm done with this live stream. I'm going to shut down the perk, get the orders into my printer manufacturer, however you would refer to someone that does t-shirts. And hopefully it'll only be a couple of weeks before those come in. So we're pretty excited about that. So I think we've sold like 50 shirts, which is actually pretty good for something like this. So they're actually very limited. We may print a couple extras just to kind of have like maybe 10 extra. And as things continue to progress with Empire Comics, we'll have more stuff like that available. And I'm getting my website redone, so we'll have a store on my website that carries all that stuff as well. But at least in the short term, excuse me, there's going to be if you don't order one of those shirts, you're probably not going to get one. So you have about an hour. If you haven't ordered, you know what? I totally forgot to put the link in the, did I? No, I did. I put the link in the description. Yes, I did. So there's a description in this video. Let me try that again. In the description of this video, there is a link to go to the campaign page. And if you want to order a shirt, do it. You got an hour. So I'm not trying to, do high pressure sales, but I'm trying to do high pressure sales. So just want to make you guys aware of that. This is an official. Shelly's like, are you going to have a closeout stream for your shirts? I'm like, why would I do a closeout stream for t-shirts? But then it sort of made sense just kind of as an awareness thing, right? And then I thought, well, I can draw too, and it'll be like a combo thing. It'll actually be not just me sitting here peddling my wares. I'll actually be drawing. Okay, so that's the shirt. That's the design that's on the shirt. As the kids are telling me, whoa, dude, that is so metal. Yeah, I don't really know what that means, but actually I do know what that means. So that's what they look like. And here's a, this is kind of cool. This is actually the whole shirt and nothing but the shirt. There we go. So that's more or less what it looks like. And if you look at the back there, you can see there's a tag. These have custom tags on it. I mean, they just say Wraith of God, copyright, Aaron Lopresti and Cold Crocodile Press, Empire Comics, his logo is on there. It's just really cool. So that's what you get when you make your own swag. So anyway, that's kind of the purpose of this, to let you guys know if you've been waffling or saying, gee, man, should I get one of those shirts? do it today. Tarks9 for $10 Canadian. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. Hail, Aaron. Looking forward to reading Wraith of God and the Dale Keown cover. Thank you so much, Tarks. You know, a lot of people are very excited about that. And people are like, are you going to turn that Keown thing into a print or a poster? And the answer is no. But I am seriously, let's bring up Dale's picture here. It's not a picture of Dale, but it's Dale's picture that he drew. That's what we're talking about if you haven't seen it. This is the fourth variant cover I have on the Wraith of God graphic novel project. It wasn't necessarily, I wasn't planning on doing that many covers, but when you get a piece of artwork like this, you're kind of like, oh, I got to use that somewhere. So the black and white version of this is in the book. It has some gray and it's very nice. And it's going to be the title page that separates the end of the Wraith of God story to the 3-page epilogue, and which we're going to show you a little bit of that today. And but people were like, "Are you going to make a poster of this or such and such?" And I'm like, "No," but I am seriously thinking about doing a T-shirt with this. That yeah, keep your eyes open for that. If it'll probably won't be till the next campaign launches, which will launch as soon as fulfillment is finished on the Wraith of God graphic novel. Then I will make the next campaign live, which will be more Wraith of God, Garbage Man, the nightclub, and then also there'll be a stretch goal in there for Kit Carter, which I'm confident that we'll hit, and I'll be able to add the Kit Carter stuff in there too. So it's going to end up being another 80-page volume. It'll just have 3 complete stories of Loprestiverse characters, and then it'll also have about 15 pages of Kit Carter in there as well. So that's coming up, but I will believe me, I'll keep you alerted to that as soon as I'm ready to start pushing that. But anyway, that's the Dale thing, and it's very cool. Dale is very cool. His art is very cool, and we just want to exploit the heck out of that image. Okay. Let me get this over here. Okay. Your pressure to get us to buy shirts is almost as strong as the pressure on Uranus. Yeah. I blame Shelley for all of this. You know that, don't you? Or as Numbskull says, not bad. Man, that's not too bad. Could it be Dale when he's hungry? That, you know, that's a possibility. I gotta have Dale back on this show. We have to do like some drawing. I just haven't been really like scheduling people to be on with me because that actually requires effort. And all my focus and energy is finishing up Wraith of God right now. So as soon as all the artwork is done, then we'll start bringing guests back on Aaron Live, and it should be a good time. Dale Keown, do you still do signings at cons or comic book stores? Well, I'm not Dale, so I can't answer for him, but if he is watching, maybe he could answer that. He's up in Canada, and he was saying that, okay, John, there's a little bit of confusion here. I'm the best, and then Shelley would be secondary. Hopefully that'll help you remember that in the future. Why is this is stuck? My scroll is stuck. Are you kidding me? All right, so let's talk about this 3-page epilogue. So I'm going to show you the first page, which I'm working on right now, and I'm going to ink some of it live. And I'm going to ink it with a brush. And which I haven't really done much of recently, because I did the whole Wraith of God book is done in pen, because I wanted a different style. And so, but I'm going to do this in brush for whatever reason, just to kind of separate it maybe a little bit in tone. But this is, my goodness, it is for a 3-page story, it is chock full of spoilers. So do not ask me any questions about the content in this story, this 3-page epilogue, and what you're about to see. I will answer no questions about the content. I will answer technical questions, but no questions about the content because I don't want to ruin it for you. John, what are you talking about? Oh, look, Dale, I'm in London. Okay, again, I'm not Dale, but if he is watching, he'll know that you're in Ontario. Shelley and that guy that appears on her show are pretty entertaining. You know what also is pretty entertaining? Violence. Violence can be entertaining. Of course, I'm joking. Well, actually, I'm not joking because what movie have you seen recently that didn't have violence in it? I mean, not real violence. I'm not, proponent of that, but, entertainment violence, I guess. Boy, that sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? What does it say here? I had to move over here because Facebook was getting squirrely. Facebook is always getting squirrely. Look at this, man. And then you're in 44 numbskulls in Toronto. There's a lot of Canadians that tune into our shows, and we're very grateful. You sound like a Vulcan about the epilogue. I am, being very Vulcan-esque. Oh, he's Dale in the chat. I didn't see him. Where is he? Did I skip by Dale? I don't see him. Dale, are you like identified as yourself, or do you have like some like screwy name? That's not the one I was laughing at. This is gosh darn it. This is where. Okay, there it is. You need to update your slap combo clip with the Oscar slap. That's what I was laughing about. And then Guapo's like, hey, Aaron, what'd you get me for my birthday? Well wishes. Is that good enough? Happy birthday. Late. Is 44 numbskull? Oh, okay. All right, Dale, that is you. All right, dude. I didn't know that. How am I supposed to know that? You guys all have like these avatars and these groovy names. I come right out and say, hey, it's me. But you guys are always hiding behind strange names. Okay, so Dale is here. And since Dale is here and he's not answering me on Facebook, Dale, I would really like to get you your money for that cover you did. So if you'd send me that information on for PayPal or something, I'd be happy to extend some cash your direction. So there you go. You are the product. I am. And oh yeah, see. Well, see, I could be just like this terrible guy and just go, well, Dale can't remember to get paid. I'm not going to pay him. But I am not that way. I'm too responsible, Dale. I already have guilt. It's like, I want to send you your money. So, send me your information for PayPal or however you want to be paid. Let me know. And then also give me your mailing address so I can send you out the beanies, which are coming in today. Because Dale's going to be wearing a beanie and propping up Wraith of God. So, are you paying Dale in Canadian dollars worthless U.S. paper? That's true. Dale does do it for the love. Dale's a great guy. He really is. See, I'm not just saying that. I mean it. He's a tremendous guy, and we met many moons ago in Australia, and I hadn't seen him until we reconnected through Comicsgate, and just tremendous guy. Glad to call him friend now. So, and plus, it always gives you really good street cred when you can. When you're friends with like really popular artists. Okay, now check this out. So I'll give you a little bit of background here. This is Takes place modern day, obviously. This is the first page to the epilogue story that will be separated by Dale's really killer werewolf piece in the book. So this takes place in Murnau City, which is where Garbage Man hangs out and where the nightclub, the crime-fighting, mysterious group of heroes reside as well. So this is kind of their hideout. The nightclub, they're like in an abandoned warehouse, kind of like, Dark Man. Remember that movie, that Sam Raimi movie? So they're kind of holed up in a warehouse district. And in this first page, we have Mr. Mystery, who leads the nightclub, is showing Garbage Man around the facilities and talking about potential membership. But then it goes someplace else that gets really cool. So that's all I'm saying. I already probably said more than I should have, but you're seeing it anyway. So there you have it. So I'm going to ink Garbage Man down here, because most of this I'm going to have to do with a pen anyway. And who wants to watch me with a ruler and a pen? That's not really, all that interesting. So I'm going to take my number 2 Kolinsky series 8404 brush that they're completely out of at Dick Blick's right now, so I can't order anymore. That's the last one I have, and I'm really kind of pissed about it, but hopefully it'll get me through these 3 pages. I bought a new ruler because mine keep disappearing, and I like these plastic ones because they you can kind of see your edge a little bit better. I am going to ink the frame lines, which is probably about as boring a thing as you could possibly do. I'm going to ink it with an 8.0 micron, and I think I got the crappy one. That's all right. This is not the fun part of inking. They used to, back in the day, a letterer used to have to do this. And then when they started doing lettering digitally, the inker had to start inking these frame lines. They used to pay them an extra $5 or $10 added onto their page rate to ink the frame lines, and then they quit doing that. So, but we still got to ink them. And as Shelley said to me, "Look, why can't you get the inker to do that?" And I'm like, because I pretty much am the inker, so I have to do it. I don't know if you can hear Shelley downstairs. She's singing to the dog. She just walked in. So we will probably be getting a guest appearance here very soon from Shelley Showtime. This is also, I changed paper for this 3-page story. This is Canson comic book artboard. It has a little bit more tooth to it than the Strathmore comic pre-printed comic board that I was that I've been using on the whole rest of the Wraith story. And I don't know, I was in Blick's and it was sitting there, and I thought, felt it had a little bit more tooth. I thought, well, I'm using a brush. Maybe I'll, see how it feels on this, just a 3-page story. If I don't like it, it's only 3 pages, and I can go back to the other. But I thought I'd give it a shot and see, because they do make pretty good paper. Canson does, and think my pens have seen better days, though. I've really drained them. It was really a pain in the butt to have to go back to drawing modern stuff after getting used to drawing everything, from a Western standpoint. And now I've got warehouses and computer machinery elements and stuff that I didn't have to worry about in the Wraith story. So now I'm back to modern comics. Okay, let me, we want Shelley. Really? Okay. Tell me if you want this. Yes, I'm streaming.
All I heard was, we want Shelley.
Like, there's Angela Curry. We hear Shelley.
Woo! Brought your phone.
What was it, downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Aaron should draw with the puppet like Ted Knight did on Too Close for Comfort. But I don't think so.
AJ. Seen him in a while.
Dale's in the chat, and I didn't even know it because he's... Aaron, you're turning into the Wolfman. I assume he's referring to the hair on my arms.
Oh.
Actually, you know what?
Julie.
I'm not going to let you get away with that.
Ooh,
there you go, Phil. So you like that? Stats here.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. I thought you weren't going to explain anything. Yeah, I know, but
can't trust him.
I figured you're seeing the page. Just kind of wanted to set the tone a little bit, but I didn't reveal what is really. Go ahead and you can take that. Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't reveal any of the
Hi, John.
Important
Eric.
points.
You guys. Oh
what did he say?
I feel so loved. I'm just going to leave the room and come back again just so I can. Oh, the stream is saved.
Save this.
Oh, man. And John Smith.
Oh, finally the star of the show arrives. Here, this also arrived. Okay.
Special delivery.
Special delivery right there.
Oh, my gosh. Jeffrey. Hey, Joe. Yeah, just got back from my teaching job. As she giggles. Not a lot of teaching happening today, but Henry's going to throw a compliment Aaron's way. Love it. That page looks great.
Thank you.
Click, 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 click.
That would be the dog.
It's the dog.
Yeah, constantly turning the page to kind of get the right angle so that you can...
Do you always ink? You don't always ink on a flat surface, though.
No, but I don't have to ink on with the board up, because the only reason I draw with the board up is to keep me from getting wonky perspective.
Right.
And this is already drawn, so all I'm doing is going over the lines, so I don't have to be.
Does Garbage Man smell like garbage?
Yes.
He does. So good thing it's not a scratch and sniff book.
Yeah, when your dog's out, playing in the dirt and digging in the dirt, and comes in, he smells like
it smells like outside
dirt. And,
yeah,
that's kind of what Garbage Man smells like. What is he chewing? Quit chewing on my chair while I'm drawing. My gosh, he's like bumping the chair, chewing on it while I'm.
Oh, he's chewing on the lifty handle thing.
The great thing about the brush is you can get a varying line thickness just by the pressure to apply. Well, you're inking here, and when I'm using a pen, if I wanted a thicker line, obviously I'd have to go over it twice or more to get it built up, or I can just, by pressure, I can just get the same effect with the brush. But you have to work much slower, and you have to kind of find that happy medium between going slow enough to maintain your control, but not too slow that you start to get your line get a little jiggly.
A little jiggly.
Mm-hmm. But none of us want to get jiggly.
Gosh, I hear you. So some nice comments. So it's a marketing idea, the Garbage Man line of cologne.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing that's why he doesn't have a nose. So then,
there's a nostril right there. There's one nostril.
Oh, one nostril, poor thing. Stat. Is there going to be a Husker autograph tier in the next one? The Grand Paw tier. Yeah, good old Husker. But of course, good thing Garbage Man doesn't smell like Uranus. Oh, man.
Someone say Uranus?
Oh, yeah.
You got to hit the language.
Oh, well, there's a couple. Peyton has a good one. Shih Tzu's on Uranus. I can't even. I can't even. Well, I'd love to stay and hang out. I gotta do.
Aaron's getting jiggly with it. Just watch out for a Will Smith slap.
Get jiggy with it.
So you're not going to stay, huh?
I may return, but I gotta get something on Google Classroom before too much longer. I'll be back. Maybe.
Maybe.
If you're lucky.
Hardest thing with Garbage Man is trying to remember. Well, not trying to remember, but trying to think of like little bits of garbage that might be sticking out of him. Usually I do sticks and twigs because he's mostly dirt. But there'll be a string once in a while, or a screw, or a nail. Things like that. The brush really can be kind of an elegant tool. Although this is supposed to be a screw right here, so I'm going to use a pen. God, this pen is history. And I've got a weird combination of ink. It's part super black speedball, and I added some other stuff I just picked up. I can't remember the name of it now. It's supposed to be super black. They always say that, and then it turns out to be like watered down and gray. So you have to leave the lid off for a week or so to let some of the water evaporate out of it, so you can get a thicker. Can I go in here closer? I think I can. I don't think I will. So one of the things I learned from Gary Martin, who was actually my inking mentor, don't start right in, and I should say I learned this from him, but I don't always follow it. Don't start right in doing feathering, because you kind of want to get a feel for the brush and kind of get into a rhythm. And so you do your outline work first, and then you can go in and after you've kind of got your rhythm going, you can go in and start feathering. Because really, I think what it is more than anything is kind of establishing a touch. Because when you're feathering, you want to keep, usually you want those lines to be fairly thin, which requires a very sort of light touch. And it takes a couple minutes for us normal folks. I don't know, Dale might have a different approach, but and he's an incredible inker. So, but once you kind of get into a rhythm and sort of kind of get that feel, that flow, and you're controlling the pressure of the brush, then you kind of can start going and start doing your feathering lines like this. God, this camera is so much better than the one I was using. So much better. I can get this to refocus. Okay. One of the dumb things I always do is I'll ink on one side of the drawing, and then I'll go over and start inking the other side and run my hand across wet ink and smear it. So you always want to be careful about that as well. But again, someone like Gary Martin is very systematic in his approach, and he would probably start here and ink this way across, so he was never potentially crossing his hand over a place that would have wet ink. I'm just random. I'm just like all over the place. Oh, I'll ink that line, and oh, I'll ink this line. And that was very much Wrightson feathering technique there, where I'm inking out this way, inking from the base to the tip, as opposed to the other way around, which is inking from the tip to the base, which I will demonstrate right here. Ink is drying up on me here. That's the other problem with a thicker ink, is that if you hold the brush too long in between strokes, it'll start to thicken up on you, and you'll have a hard time getting it to flow smoothly. You got to rinse it and redip. Come on, baby. Here we go. One of my big problems has always been as an inker is I'm very impatient, and it requires a good deal of patience and control when you're doing, a lot of line work. You're doing it with a brush. It doesn't so much with a pen. You can be a little bit more loose and free with a pen, because you're not going to get any line weight variances regardless. I mean, you can a little bit with a crow quill pen, but even those, they're not anywhere near as sensitive to the touch as the brushes. So and of course, the longer the feathering line is, the harder it is to maintain that control. But it all comes down to how slick do you want your stuff to look, I'll oftentimes go in and add lines too that aren't there in the pencils, just to kind of, because I'm feeling it, man. And when you're feeling it, you got to do it. Don't really know why basically guy made out of mud would have veins, but they look cool, so we put them in. Garbage Man has Cecil's eyes. There's Big Boy Robo. Hail chat. Cheers, Aaron. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. That's exactly right. Oh. Yeah, the camera is nuts, man. It's a what is it? It's a Razer Kiyo. So RAZER KIYO. Razer Kiyo, I guess would be how you'd pronounce that. Yes, it does. Erasing the pencils does mess with the inks in a couple of ways. One, thank you, Robotech Jenner. Appreciate that. One of the problems with that is your pencil lines are visible. You know, you're not covering them with ink in 100% accuracy, right? So some of those pencil lines are showing through on the ink. So certain things can look more lush or fuller because the pencil lines are in there filling them out. And then when you erase it, it can look more sparse and maybe not have the same feel that you want it to have. And also, sometimes the ink will fade a little bit when you erase over the top of it. Now, that is also fairly dependent on the paper you're using. Rough paper like this tends to soak the ink in more, and it's less likely to rub off when you erase. Whereas when I'm using a slick surface coated paper, the ink just sits on top of the paper. It does not soak into the paper. And so therefore, it's more likely to gray up a little bit when you erase over the top of it. And so what you have to do is sometimes go in and punch up some areas that got maybe a little too gray and darken them up. However, I will say this, if you scan, and I scan in bitmap, I do not scan in grayscale because the grayscale picks up everything. And a lot of people will scan in color. Then you're spending an hour cleaning up your page with all the crap that it picked up that you really don't want. But if you scan super high res, like 1200 DPI as a bitmap, some minor stuff closes up a little bit, so you have to be careful of that. But it's an easier way to scan the pages because the cleanup is like a million times easier. And a lot of that stuff that looks kind of grayish after you erase will scan black anyway. Although sometimes it breaks up a little bit. Like if you had a solid black area, but you erased over the top of it and it had spots that were more gray than other areas, those spots might break up with some white spots when you scan it bitmap, because it doesn't pick up any grays. It just picks up, it's either solid black or it's white. But most of the time it scans pretty well. And I found it, you know, and it depends on how clean you want your ink, your black and white to be too. I mean, I know a lot of people that will scan these black and white pages in color so that they pick up all those little nuanced things. But then you got spots, and you've got, I mean, when you zoom in real close, you find all these little things in there that are maybe help the overall picture, but or the look of the overall picture, but they're also distracting and look like they're messy and stuff like that. So I mean, it just depends on what the look is that you want. I hate doing cleanup because it's like when I'm done with something, I want to move on to the next thing, and I don't want to keep belaboring something to clean up little spots here and there. That so yeah, I'm an impatient guy, so found the bitmap to be the easiest way, especially when you're doing a comic book and the reproduction of a comic. It's like you lose a lot of detail when it gets shrunk down and printed anyway. And what I mean by that, I mean like really fine detail. It just doesn't reproduce as well. So you can get hyper focused on something like this and the detail and the line work. And then it gets printed and you're like, didn't really reproduce the way I'd hoped. That being said, though, it's a lot better than it used to be back in the day, man. I'm going to lift this camera up just a bit here because I got to do some line work here that I need some room to actually move my hand instead of work around this camera. My feathering like this is nowhere as good as it used to be. Like I said, I haven't done that much brush inking in a long time, and in some ways it's like riding a bike, but yeah, that's better. Things is a little waffle here and there. No one's really going to notice anyway. But, and again, it's kind of like what's important to you, the perfect line or the right feel. And I keep telling myself it's the right feel, and yet I get hung up on the line work all the time. Again, that's why I forced myself to ink Wraith of God the way I did, which was much looser with a pen. Kind of get away from that focusing on what a single line looks like, or what the perfection of the line, and try really to sort of embrace the aesthetic that I was going for, which was a looser, rougher, old West kind of look, spaghetti Western kind of look. The fun thing about Garbage Man is he's, unlike a lot of other muck monsters, he does have expressions. You know, he's like, he can crack a joke. You know, he can smile a little bit here and there. You know, he's not just this completely grim character. Although he's, you know, somewhat depressed. I mean, if you were made of garbage, you probably wouldn't be too happy either. But also, the idea is that your feathering line should be sort of going in the direction where the light is coming from. So the light's coming this way, so all your feather lines are, you know, pointing towards the light. Because really what you're doing with your line work is trying to create a artificial gray, or a gray using black line work. Put in a few more veins here that have no reason for being there, except that I like the way they look. When you have paper with a little bit more tooth to it, the brush doesn't glide as easily as it would on a coated paper, a slick, you know, smooth coated paper. So you can inadvertently kind of get dry brush effects, even when you're not trying to, if you don't keep your brush wet enough. Of course, you get it too wet, then your ink is gray and it's not black. So all sorts of crazy stuff I have to worry about. And I don't know, I keep going back and forth on the brush look, because the brush look does or can look dated, you know. And I guess to a certain degree, what goes around comes around, you know, and what was in style goes out of style, but then it comes back in style. But the pen look has really sort of defined comics for a generation at this point. And, you know, all the people that influenced me were 70s artists. And they almost, with the exception of Barry Smith, they all were brush inkers. Although maybe Neil Adams and Dick Giordano were probably pen guys, but you get a certain look, a certain style in your head, you know, and you start operating that way, and it's really hard to, you know, change your style. Because you get used to doing it one way, and it becomes sort of a natural you just do stuff naturally and instinctively, and it's pretty consistent. And you start working in a new style or try to do something in a new style, you have to think about everything you're doing. And as a result, you end up with stuff that maybe isn't consistent because you start, doing something one way, a new way, and then you're not thinking about it at one point, and then you start reverting back this way you used to do it. And so then you have two different styles working in the same comic or in the same page or maybe even the same panel. So I think, your tools have a lot to do with it, because a pen is going to give you a certain look. A brush is going to give you a certain look. And there are guys like Jonathan Glapian or, Brian Boland or even Dale, that I don't know what Dale's using these days, but he used to use a brush. And they would control it so well that you just couldn't believe it was a brush, But those type of guys operating with that much control with a brush are few and far in between. So you usually get your brush looks like a brush, and a pen looks like a pen. It's funny, Frank Cho uses pens to ink his stuff, but he inks it so bold it looks like he did it with a brush, because he likes that real brushy look, because he's sort of, old school in the sense that I am, Frazetta influences and things like that. And so he likes that brush look, but he doesn't really, I don't know if he never learned to use a brush, or he just never felt that he was that good at using a brush. So he does it with a pen. But it looks very much like it was done with a brush. So it's interesting. Okay, so that's most what I'm going to... That's me rinsing my brush out. That's about what I'm going to do with the brush. And then just a couple of little things here I'm going to do with the pen. Just because it's quicker and easier. The gums here in the teeth. This screw up here is stuck in his head. Because when you start doing curves like this with a brush, it's really hard to maintain your control. And the effort is so great to maintain that control. It's like, I'm just going to get a pen and do it. And so you can go in and do little things like that with the pen, and it's so much faster. Like I could even go in here and feather, which I'm going to do, rather than get my brush all. Let's see if I can move this a little bit. Rather than dip my brush and rinse it out again, I'm just going to go in here and do these lines with the pen. And no one will be the wiser, except you guys, because you saw me do it. The funny thing is you put in all this work and stuff, and then it gets colored. It's like half the stuff people don't even notice. It was way different when it was just flat colors on newsprint, because your line work really carried the image. But that's not the case anymore. The coloring carries it. And that's either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who your colorist is. Now, the Garbage Man has these little color spots on him that are like, you know, toxins or something. Well, actually, they are toxins. So he has like a color over his eye, then there's a spot up here, then he has them randomly over other parts of his body. See, then I can go in with this pen and do some line work too. It's so funny, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I want to say it was, I asked the same question of both Mike Plug and Kevin Nolan about what did they use to ink. And they both said basically the same thing, whatever's within reach. So you start inking with a pen or a brush, and then you pick up a pen to do something, and then you start noodling around with a pen, which I'm doing right now. Cue the dog. So, I mean, I could do this either way with a pen or a brush, and it wouldn't be that much different. It just would depend on how clean I wanted to make the pen lines or how loose I wanted to make them. And obviously when I'm when I'm working on Wraith of God, I want them loose and rough. You know, this other stuff here, might want them a little bit slicker. But we'll see. This paper actually is pretty nice. Oh, for crying out loud. I'm going to go shoot my dog with one of my fake guns. Not really, I'm just going to close the door. Like that helped. Anyway, so you can see that there's, you know. Ooh, it sounds like a delivery truck. I wonder if they're the beanies. So anyway, you can really get caught up in being all noodly, which I tend to be. I know, I got to admit, inking with a pen is way easier than with a brush. So I don't know why I'm going back to a brush. This may be the only panel that I ink with a brush. I don't know. I'm changing my mind even as we talk. And you can also go back in with whiteout in a brush and like whiteout into this to kind of create a really kind of like a cool cross hatch effect too. A lot of guys do that. So just kind of whatever floats your boat. There are no rules. Well, there are rules, but then once you know them, you break them, right? The key is just don't break them until you know them. All right. Randy Hall just came inside to check mail. We'll have to watch later as I'm off to the hardware store. Story. I think he means hardware store. Aaron, have you seen the inks that Matthew Kanker Allison does? He uses microns exclusive and he completely passed the work off his brush inking. I haven't, but like I said, there's guys that do it, and there's a way to do that. I don't know. I'm always just thinking of like little things to have sticking out of them. If it was a shout out to Frankenstein, I'd put it in his neck, wouldn't I? So what do you got here? A pit pen. Bought a set of those pit pens that Brohawk and Kyle Hotz use. Are fantastic. That's the truth. I hate rapidograph just because they do. They clog constantly. But you know who used to use those was Travis Charest. I doubt he still does. There's no reason to use them. There's Marcus Killigrew correcting me. The Giordano was a brush guy. Terry Austin, of course, was a pen guy. That I knew. Garbage man does whatever garbage can. I think we have a Saturday morning show right there. It's an interesting take right there. Inking traditional is like racing a car, while digital is like riding a roller coaster. I love both, but I've always enjoyed traditional more. It's scarier, but the sense of control is exhilarating. Yeah. I mean, that is the truth, because you sit there and it is scary because, you know, a couple of bad lines and you're like, but at the same time, you feel more artistic, I guess, because you're actually drawing on the board and the paper. So, yeah, I could go for that. Okay. Well, that's all I'm going to do today. I wanted to just do like a quick hour stream and make you guys aware that shirts are closing down like right now. So as soon as I end this and bail, I'm going to shut down the shirt ordering, and that'll be that. So if you're thinking, gosh, I want to get a Wraith of God shirt, go there now and order now, because in about 10 minutes, they're going to be gone. And that's my last hard sell of the day. Tark's Nice says, thank you for streaming, Aaron. Wonderful to see you, Inc. Thank you. I got to get back in a better rhythm, that's for sure. But it's always hard to do this when you know people are watching you, because you mess up one line and you're like, yo. But it's easier to ink when you don't, when you're not trying to work around a camera and everything else. But it gives you guys an idea of, you know, sort of the process that I fool around with when I'm doing this stuff. Yeah. So there you have it. Oh, Citizen Ronan wants to know what's the verdict on the paper. You know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It has just a little bit of tooth to it, not much. The other stuff I've been using is super slick. I'll be interested to see when I erase the pencils out of this, how well the ink holds up as opposed to on the slicker stuff. Because my guess is, because this has a little tooth to it and that ink's going to soak into the paper a little bit, that it's not going to come up very much like it does on the slicker stuff. So we shall see. Yeah, I know. I had Dale watching over my shoulder, and the pressure was just freaking unbelievable. So, no, I'm going to get Dale back on my show, like I said earlier, and we're going to do a drive stream. We'll do a draw stream, and I'll let him crush me on live YouTube. So that'll be fun. It's not that slick, okay, Jeff. It's not that slick. Everybody, this is it. This is it. I'm really going to go now. But remember the Professionals tonight. I believe Andy Smith is hosting, if I'm not mistaken. Sunday show. I don't know if we're doing the Sunday show because it's Easter. So I will say Happy Easter, everybody. And I'll post something, on Sunday, like, no show tonight, or there will be a show, but I probably not, would be my guess. Because my son and his wife are going to be over. So I don't know how late they're staying. Yeah, So anyway, if we do skip Sunday, we'll be back the following week. And remember, Sequential Treasures and I do Comic Art Convo the last Saturday of every month. I believe it's April 30th this month. Also, just a quick Wraith update for those of you who haven't been paying attention. This is the Epilogue which is a 3-page stretch goal that was added to the story. This sort of ties in the Leprestiverse to Wraith of God, kind of connects everything, or at least starts to. And so there's like major spoilers on the next 2 pages. But I am done with the Wraith of God story, which is 76 pages. It's completely done. In fact, let me prove it to you. This is the entire graphic novel art for Wraith of God, right here. There's the cover. Oh, look. There's page 1. There's page 2. There's page 3. There's page 4. It's one of my faves. So anyway, these are all up on the campaign page. That's why I was showing them to you. I won't show you the last page, but so anyway, 76 pages, baby, right here. All right here. So it is done. Gabe is coloring the last 2 pages right now. And of course, he'll be coloring this 3-page epilogue once I get it done. It'll then, I got some proofreading to do. Then it's going to the letterer. Then I got more proofreading to do. And then it's going to go to the designer to put it together for the printer. Then it's going to the printer. So we are almost there. I appreciate you guys' patience over the last several months. These projects, especially when they're, 80 pages long, it takes a little bit of time to complete. That's like 4 issues you'd be getting of a regular comic. So it does take a little bit of time, and I appreciate you guys' patience. And hopefully it will all be worth the wait and a great reward for you when we start shipping these things out shortly. So look at that. Sequential Treasures has broke 100. Good for you. That's the start, man. It takes time, but you can get the ball rolling. I'm at 1750, I guess, a little over 1750. I want to get to 2000 at least. But I guess I'm gonna have to make Shelley more entertaining. That'll bring in a wider audience, perhaps. Comics Legends wants to know what's after Wraith of God. Well, Empire Events #1 is what's next, and that will contain a 20-page Wraith of God story, the next Wraith of God story, the continuation, the next adventure, if you will. And then it'll have a complete 22 pages, however it's going to be the Garbage Man story. And then there'll be a full nightclub story, which is the group that first appeared in the Garbage Man trade paperback. So they'll be featured. And then there will also be a stretch goal of 15 pages of Kit Carter, who's the space girl right behind me there. And of course, that's Garbage Man right directly behind me. So basically, it's an anthology book, but not really, because they're all tied in together to part of the Leprestiverse. We'll get to see Eon Chance will show up and start to tie in bigger picture themes for the entire line. But it seems to be the best way to get several books out at once is do complete issues and collect them in a big volume. And so that's what I'm going to do, and we'll see how it goes. But that's what's next. And that'll be launching as soon as fulfillment is done on this. So there you go. And let's see here. Any other questions before I go? Comics Legends, thank you, sir. Can't wait. I'm going to back everything you make. I appreciate that so much. You do not know how much I appreciate it. Book 3 is Wraith of Garbage Man. No, it's the only way to keep I got these things out there, and I think there's broad interest in several of these different projects that I put out over the years. And so how do you do it? If you're only going to if I do an 80-page Wraith of God story every 8 months, how do you work in the other stuff, right? So, I figure give you guys if if you bought like a Marvel annual back in the day that had full stories of several different characters in there, it's sort of like, and it's not going to be like Tales of Suspense or something was back in the day where you had like an 8-page Iron Man story and an 8-page Captain America story. These are going to be full, complete stories of each of these characters. So you're not going to be left hanging for 8 months to, oh my gosh, how does this turn out? They're complete stories, but they tie in together. And so it's I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone, which is expand the Lopresti-verse, but also give you guys complete stories to read. So, and that seems to be the best way to do it at this point. No, I mean, it won't be showing off future projects. It'll be setting up future stuff. It'll be part of the story. So you'll be experiencing that character in that story, and it'll be setting some stuff up down the line. So everything is going to be connected and part of the same universe, even though the story will be complete, but it won't be the end of the character, right? So it's like what happens in Garbage Man will be the end of that particular story. It's not like a cliffhanger or anything, but then he's off to the next adventure. What's the next adventure? Well, you'll see the next time it comes up. And then we bring in some of these other characters that will play an important role farther down the line, so that when they show up, you're not going, who's that? You've already been introduced to the character. And so then you say, okay, well, hopefully you'll say, I'd like to see more of this, and then I'll give you more of it. So it's kind of a building blocks for a bigger universe, if you will. The update you just gave should also be emailed to everyone who backed it. It will make a lot of people happy. The update you just gave, well, I just sent out an update. Thank you for the $5, Eric. Appreciate it. The $5, the update, I just sent an update letting everybody know about the where I'm at with the finished project, or the Wraith story being finished, and working on the 3-page epilogue. So that information is out there, but I will keep giving you guys updates every week like I do. The next time I give you one, I should be done with the epilogue and moving on to the more technical production aspects of getting the book out to you. Aaron Lopresti, one more thing. I just bought my very first CGC comic for myself. Maybe I'll show it off. You should, because I want to see it. I can tell you that right now. I'm waiting on one right now in the mail. So you get Keown's art in black and white in every book. The cover is the only place to get it in color. That is correct. And I'll show you that real quick. I keep saying I'm leaving, and then you guys keep distracting me. Oops, that's not it. Sorry. Hang on one second. There it is. Okay, that's Dale's black and white piece, and that's going to be inside every book. It'll say Epilogue right up at the top left. So it'll be the end of the Wraith story, and then you'll be faced with that picture that Dale did, and it'll say Epilogue there. You'll turn the page, and it'll give you the 3-page epilogue. And I might also use it as the title page at the very beginning. I'll have to gray it out, and there'll be type all over it, so it'll just be kind of more of a background element. But you'll get to see it in its full beauty. Like I said, there'll just be one small word epilogue up at the top, and it won't really block any of the artwork. So it'll be a real nice pinup in the book for you guys. But if you want the color version, yeah, you'll have to get the cover. And like I said, I may do a T-shirt down the line. But if I do a T-shirt, I'll be cutting Dale in on that, because that doesn't seem really fair to hire him to do a pinup and then like exploit the crap out of it and not give him a cut of the action. So, so here it's on record. I said that I was cutting him in if I do a shirt. So. I see things getting better for creators. Never in history has fandom so aligned itself with the production aspect. It's a fusion. You're right. I mean, in a lot of ways, you guys you're backing what you want, right? I'm not saying you're dictating what you're getting, because we're doing that. We're saying, hey, I want to do this. Are you guys interested? And you either say yes or no. And if you're not interested, then it's a failure and we don't do it. If you are interested, then you back it, and we say, okay, I'm going in the right direction, and I'll keep doing this. So yeah, there's always a bit of a chance that you're taking when you're introducing new material, because you don't know how people are going to react, right? I had no idea when I put out Wraith of God, was this going to be a success or is it going to be a total failure? I had no idea. Because I tried to launch Garbage Man, the trade paperback, and it failed horribly. But what I found was that when I got it out there through the Wraith of God campaign and through Dark Horse, more people saw it, and a lot of people liked it, but were just unaware of it and had never seen it. So now you've got people that want to see more Garbage Man, and they're going to get more Garbage Man. You got people that want to see more Wraith of God, they're going to get more Wraith of God. There are some people that may or may not be curious about the nightclub, but you're going to get that. And then you can make your judgment on that, saying, "Oh, I want more of this," or maybe I don't want more of that. And then I come in with something different next time. So, but the only way to expand the universe into an actual line of characters and books is, I think, through crowdfunding anyway, is to do it this way. Or hire other people to do it for you so you can get a bunch of stuff done in a short period of time. But then that's always a crapshoot, because anytime, and I'm not good at relying on other people, because anytime you put your fate in someone else's hands, you're putting your fate in someone else's hands. And I prefer not to do that. So anyway, we'll see how it works out, but right now it looks good and I'm excited, to keep moving forward. So, yeah, there you go. And that's the thing. It's always all about exposure, right? And getting people to see this stuff. So, and after this book comes out, Wraith of God, I'm sure people are going to discover it for the first time and go, "Oh boy, I'd like to get a copy of this." And well, there just isn't going to be. There's going to be a little bit. So I'm going to overprint by about 20%, because if there's books damaged and things like that, they need to be replaced and that type of thing. And then I'll have some extra inventory that'll be available, but not at the $25. It'd probably be like $30 or something, unless you were a campaign backer and you wanted another copy or something. Then I would certainly honor the $25 price. So yeah, that happens a lot. You're just totally off the radar. And then you do something that people are like, "Well, that's kind of cool." And they check it out. And then they go back and look at the other stuff you did before. Which is also, I got Power Cubed floating around out there, which is a fun read, totally different than Wraith of God or Garbage Man, but it's, but a lot of people didn't see that either. So, we'll see. Yeah. And, the funny thing is, diversity, the genre diversity was not something that was ever embraced by comic readers. And I think probably because we have an older demographic now, that you guys are more interested in different things than you were, say, when you were 12. When you're 12 to 15, which was, or 10 to 15, which was the really kind of the age group, 10 to 16, males, was what comic books were always directed at. And, young kids want like superheroes and stuff like that. But as you get older and your tastes change, maybe you want some adventure, maybe you want some horror, maybe you want some fantasy stuff. And you got a lot of people doing a very diverse bunch of subject matter right now. If you haven't checked out Kenneth Roquefort's Groken, I haven't read it yet. I ordered it from him. He's sending it to me, but the artwork's great. But it's a fantasy thing, right? So it's like elves and stuff like that, which I really like, because I kind of grew up in that sort of stuff in the 70s. And but it's not a real, it doesn't have a huge readership base. I shouldn't say fan base, because Lord of the Rings obviously is huge, but in terms of comic book readers, people are still ultra focused on superheroes, although that is changing. We can see that in the market right now, that it's changing. And so that's we've got opportunities to do some really cool stuff that the mainstream would never have let us do. And so, I think we need to take advantage of that while we can, and get some other stuff out there, and let the audience know that there's value in stuff other than just superhero books. And even if you're doing a superhero book, maybe do it with a little bit of a, an edge to it, or twist to it that's not exactly, Captain America or whatever, as much as I love Captain America. But that's the Nightclub, this super team that you'll get a free sticker of. They're a super team, they're superheroes, but not in the conventional sense. So and I do have some of that stuff too for down the line. And we'll just see how it goes. So, oh, okay. Okay. I thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I will comment on this. Dan DiDio and Frank Miller is doing it. Well, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but I'll tell you this. I knew it was coming. Not that I'm a big insider or anything, but I've been in touch with Dan DiDio for a while. I mean, I've been friends with him since I started working at DC, and I knew he was planning a publishing venture. And I knew that he had backers, and I knew all this kind of information. I didn't know that Frank Miller was going to be involved in it, although he did post. It was about a year ago. He posted a picture on Facebook of him having lunch with Frank, and the first thing I thought to my mind was, "Oh, he's getting Frank on board with this." And I didn't know if it was just to see if Frank would be interested in doing a project, but apparently they're doing it together with Dan as the front man. But again, none of that's been official re-released, and it hasn't been told to me, by Dan or anybody else. So let that be known right now, that I'm not telling you inside information. I have no inside information other than I knew that Dan was going to do something like this, but I didn't know with who or what it all was going to entail. At this point, it's speculation on what they're going to do. But my guess, again, this is an educated guess, but it's still a guess. Dan's aware of what's going on in crowdfunding, right? And he understands that their creators want a piece of the action, and if you're starting a new line of books, my guess would be that it's all going to be at least partially creator owned. I don't think car alarm, dog barking, it's insanity. I don't think that, and I don't know, but I don't think that Dan or Frank are sitting there with 20 characters, right? Or 20 books, and they're just going to hire people to do these books. My guess would be that they're going to talk to different creators about doing specific projects, and then deciding if that's something they want to go forward with. And the creators will probably have a stake and interest in the ownership of said book. What that's going to look like, I don't know. And I'll do my best once this comes out publicly and officially. I'll do my best to get Dan on my show and see if he'll come on and talk about it. But we'll have to wait and see. But that's, again, what I knew this was happening in some way, shape, or form for a while. I knew it was going to happen. But in terms of details or the capacity or exactly what they're going to be doing material-wise, I don't know. We'll just have to see. But it is kind of exciting because I think Dan's got the clout. Frank clearly has the clout. If they have enough finances behind them to put together like a 5-year plan, because you really need several years of mediocre sales, of just pumping this stuff into the marketplace till it becomes recognizable to people, and then they become regular customers, right? And one of the things you have to be careful with like cross-gen, is a great example of this. It happened to Malibu, where you can launch really big, but then you can expand too quickly, and then you get yourself in trouble. And that's really what happened with cross-gen. They had decent sales on a core number of books, but then they kept expanding quicker than their audience was growing. And so they didn't have the audience to support those books, and eventually collapsed. Malibu was a little bit different, but it was the same sort of situation. Malibu's problem was that Marvel and DC were still super strong in the marketplace. And then, the boom hit, the boom crashed, the boom market crashed, and sort of any smaller companies were kind of drug down in the undertow and destroyed. Now I know Dave would say Ulbrich has said before that a lot of the problem was they're pumping a lot of money into their video game partners that were being somewhat unsavory with their finances, I guess. And so that hurt them. But I just think the market right now is different. There's an opportunity right now because people are pissed at Marvel and DC and what they're doing with the characters and the stories they're putting out. And people are just, you know, you got your hardcore fans that are always going to be there for them, but that group is really, really shrunk. And so if Dan and Frank can come in with something really big and interesting, they have an opportunity to do something really cool. But they're also going to have to be tied into Hollywood, I think, because to get investors, big investors and big money behind something like this, there has to be something more than comics, because comic sales are not going to generate huge amounts of income. So there has to be a Hollywood tie-in there. And obviously Frank has connections. Dan started in animation. He's got plenty of connections. So my guess would be that they're lining stuff up so that when they bring in a project, say they came to me and said, Aaron, we want to publish Wraith of God. And, you know, we'll do it. What I would say, it's a 50-50 split, right? Because we want to get this as a show on Netflix. Okay. They're going to have stuff like that lined up, or at least connections lined up so that they can bring in properties and then exploit those properties beyond comics. Again, this is just speculation, but it's intelligent speculation. I mean, it's just because the money isn't there for sales of comic books to support, you know, a big company, right? So they have to get revenue coming in from other places. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that all comes together. Eric the Guapo says, we have fantasy, martial arts, action, superhero, horror, dark fantasy, cyberpunk, and more. I love it all. See, there you go. And me too. I enjoy something a little bit different. But I do know, you guys, as comic book readers and as a reader myself, not as much recently as I was growing up and even, 20 years ago, there is kind of a nice sense of you're not just getting a book and that's it. And, like if Wraith of God was a one shot and we'll never see Wraith of God again, it's kind of like, yeah, okay. I mean, you've got to do stuff that maintains the interest and grows the interest. And I do believe connected universe stuff is a way to do that. And I think that really, as readers, however you want to describe yourself, as a fan or a reader or a backer or a patron, you kind of like to see some diversity in terms of characters and stuff. So you're not just reading the same thing over and over again. I mean, there's people that focus on one thing. Ethan's focusing on Cyberfrog. There was Cerebus the Aardvark, right? That's all that Dave Sim did. And he had a core audience that supported that book. But I just happen to have more ideas than just one or two things that I would like to kind of float out there. And I think this is the best way to do it. And I think it creates interest and buzz because you bring up a new character like Eon Chance, which is blowing up on Instagram, right? I've got more likes on that than of anything I've ever done, which is really bizarre. But I think people are interested in new stuff, especially if it looks like it could be interesting, right? And how does it tie in? Well, you just don't just throw it out there and say, here's Eon Chance, the comic. What you do is you bring him into Wraith of God, or you bring him into Garbage Man, or you bring him into something else you've already established, and then you slowly work him into that so that it becomes like part of the lexicon. And then if you did like a series or something with that character, or Impyrus, for example, there'd be another one. I'm just not going to do Impyrus, the graphic novel, right? I'm going to introduce these characters in my established lines or characters already, and then see what the reaction is. And then, maybe do an Impyrus book, or maybe do, an Eon Chance book, or one of these other characters. Well, so I just, that's my publishing plan in a nutshell. We'll see if it works out or not. All right. Steampunk is cool, but I hate drawing it, man. Anyway, okay, so now I really am going to go. So it's 12:30. I was only going to go until 12, but I'm not. I'm like the teacher that like you bring up a topic and you get me distracted and I start talking about something else and everybody's like, we don't have to do the math test. So anyway, if you're going to order a shirt, do it now. Do it right now, because I'm going to go shut it down and get those orders this afternoon to the printer. And hopefully we'll have those very, very soon. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already done that. And make sure you watch Professionals tonight on Andy's channel. And I will see you guys soon. Have a great rest of your week.